How was it going from snow to the sunshine of LA yesterday?
LA was actually really impressive. I mean, they've had this event for players only, but then this year they included some of the coaches. So I was able to talk to Bob, and Bruce was there, and Lucci, and Mark DeSantos. So us coaches had a chance to kind of see what goes on behind the scenes, but really well laid out. I mean, there was a ton of interviews and stuff for the media and the press. The players all had handlers. We were all supposed to be at stations. It was a big event, a well-run event.
Is that something that you think brings a lot of credence, not only to the league but to the area hosting? And it's something that you'd hope that we'd be able to host at some point.
Well, I don't know how they decide that. I don't know why it was LA, maybe because it's sunny or whatever. I just felt that the profile of soccer in this country is going to a level where you have literally hundreds of people, hundreds of media, all getting B-roll, all getting stuff to use later, and obviously there was some semi-big news or kind of big news, or it might be big news going around the whole stadium. So I mean, it was a good event.
So if you look back at a year ago this time, you had center back seemed to be probably your deepest position. You had three starting quality center backs. Arriaga was maybe far off vision in your mind, but when he came in, there was this idea that he was going to be able to develop slowly, and here he is, pretty clearly your number one.
Yeah, he's
center back.
He's not developing slowly. No, he's got to jump in and do well.
And so do you think you look at him as a player that's ready to be your number one center back?
Yeah. I mean, look, here, one of the hardest decisions I had to make last year was we go down to LAFC and we play what some people would say, arguably our best game, maybe even ever at this franchise on a league level, and who's the starting two center backs? And then I have to take Javier out of that to bring Roman back into the team. We debated that front, back, sideways, over, long, short. I mean, that was a tough decision for me. So it's not like I don't think Javier is ready. He's ready to play. It's just, can he get consistent minutes? Can he do this? And can he get a hold of the league? Some of the stuff that we talk about when a player comes in mid-season. I think he proved that he got good minutes. He got consistent minutes. Roman, when he had his little episode there. So I think he's passed all those things. I think he's ready.
What are some of the things you think he needs that you saw from last year that you'd like to see him improve on this year?
Well, I think sometimes his individual duels and headers and stuff like that. Look, he's not the biggest guy. I mean, Chad Marshall used to crush people on headers. Zach Scott used to crush people. So he needs to work on that little part of his game. Sometimes bigger forwards like to back into him, and then it becomes a wrestling match instead of soccer. So he has to figure out some of that kind of stuff. But I think he will. He's eager to learn. His English is getting better. I can communicate with him. Jimmy can communicate with him. So I think it's good.
Both you and Garth referenced the amount of games you guys might have to play this year. I know we've talked in the past about how you guys can use sports science to kind of manage those kind of loads. How important do you think that's going to be, getting guys in and ready and then managing that throughout the year?
Sports science is always important. I think what we did really well last year was manage training. So you can, you have to manage games. We had two really explosive athletes in Jordan and Brad, and I think we managed their league play fairly well. They both played in a lot of games. They played in the important games, but we also managed their load out on the training field. So I think a lot of the sports science stuff will be good. We already use that, and then the game management. I mean, look, it's. I'm still a little bit old school. I mean, I think our guys can play. You see it all over the world in EPL. I mean, guys play Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesdays. I mean, players can do that. You just have to monitor their training loads.
And given the staff turnover on that side, is it maybe not the ideal season to be turning over and kind of having to add in a new regimen here?
No, we're not turning in any new regimen. I mean, we'll use the stuff that we learned from Dave Tenney. We'll use the stuff we learned from Damien. I mean, the sport's always evolving. I mean, I'm not concerned about the periodization. Like I said, Gonzo and Jimmy are going through their UEFA A and Pro course, and they have that stuff dialed in.
Lots of discussion around youth on this team here, start preseason. When you look at guys like Alfonso Campos Chavez and Danny Leyva, who did get some time on the first team, what do they need to do to take that next step this year?
I would think with most young players, it just has to be consistency. You know, and I'll use another guy who got minutes last year that some guys, think I don't like, but Harry Shep. I love Harry Shep. You know why I love Harry Shep? Because when I put him on the field, I know exactly what I'm going to get out of Harry. And so with some of the young guys, they have little ups and downs because they're not as groomed, they're not as polished as Harry. And so that's what those guys need. They need to figure out a way how to be consistent. Because the worst thing in the world is that, have a coach think, okay, I'm going to set up the game plan like this because Danny Leyva is good at this. And then, he's not so good at that.
With timeline for Gustav and Nuhu to get? Oh, is he here tonight?
Yeah, and I'll have to check with Grant about Nuhu's travel stuff, but we'll get everybody back prior to the first game, and hopefully have a few center backs for the first game. We'll be okay.
With Champions League this year, how different is your build-up to that going to be compared to 2 years ago? Now that you've had the extra month off, is it going to be more aggressive this time? Because you were pretty aggressive last time going into it.
Well, that's actually a really good question because I've been talking to these guys about what I learned from winning a championship in 16 and then moving into a regular season in 17. I thought we were a little complacent coming out of the blocks in 17. But the Champions League experience, I learned something there too. When we went to Santa Tecla and we knew that was our opponent, I kind of was going with two teams. I kind of had a team that was going to start that first game of the year, kind of a veteran, type, and then some younger guys going down to El Salvador. Well, that didn't work so well. So we've kind of changed that. That whole group of players is going to be ready to go for both the, Olympia matches and our regular season start, because that's what I learned from last time. You can't split the groups. You got to train them all together and try and get the whole group because you never know what's going to happen. Injuries, run a form, just tactical decisions, because that first Champions League game is going to be tricky, very tricky.
How about the potential for burnout after that, or for early season injuries? Like you did have a lot of those after the Champions League last time. And did you learn anything about that you're going to do differently?
Those injuries were, I think Will had a concussion. Jordan obviously injured his ACL. I mean, I'm not so sure they were some were muscular, I would say, but it was kind of a mix of things. I think what you learned from Kansas City last year and Toronto and some of those things, yes, we've paid attention. And to Matt's point there, we'll have to make sure that we're smart, that we don't fall into that trap. But, again, I think we've learned some stuff from our last CCL experience, and we'll try and put those into effect this year.
Christian Roldan and Stefan Fry both played against Olympia back in 2015. How important will that experience be when you face them again?
And look, Steph and Christian are pretty solid guys. I mean, they could play anywhere in the world. It's the rest of the group. Some of the young guys, if we have to take some young guys down there, that'll be an experience for them. So it's a learning curve. I think we got a veteran enough squad with Raul, Nico, all those guys. They've played in enough places like that. Javier, you guys interviewed, he's played in Central and South America, so I'm not worried.
Do you have many fun memories from the last time you guys played Olympia?
I can't remember if that's the game where they were throwing diapers at Zig and, throwing, whatever liras or whatever they were, and I collected them all.
You still have them?
I don't know. But I collected the money. It was money. So, it's an interesting place to play.
Is landing in the airport as harrowing as they make it sound?
Well, I think it's
a
little
played up.
It's a little sensational. It's an airport. Planes flying in and out of there every day, so it's fun.
I was going to ask about the leg in Seattle where Brad took the PK and the guy kicked the ball at him.
Well, Brad was giving a little bit back to him, saying, hey, so that was interesting.
I guess is Champions League, with all the craziness that can kind of go on, is it a different preparation to get guys ready for the atmospheres?
The preparation there is control the controllables, because look, some of those games, the refereeing, some of the stadiums you go to, travel arrangements, you don't control any of that stuff. You know, we don't control whatever. Well, I suppose we get the bus from San Pedro Sula, but you know, whatever. I would just tell you guys this: that we're going to do the same things that we always do. Control the controllables. Don't worry about the referees. Let's try and play hard but fair. I mean, all of that stuff to help us win games.
Will Bruin, just what's kind of a general timeline on his potential return to the team?
Ask the medical staff. Will is chomping at the bit. He wants to, you know, come to Olympia with us. He wants to come to Honduras with us. But he has to wait a little bit longer.